I demanded my son skip his graduation because his twin sister failed. When he said, "I'm going." So, I emailed the college saying he lied, forced the family not to attend the graduation, and took his sister on vacation instead. Now my son cut me off. Our $8,500 support is gone. And then his lawyer called. I did the unforgivable because I thought I was protecting my girl. 2 weeks later, I was staring at my porch steps with 41 missed calls and a letter with my name spelled wrong, telling me I was no longer welcome on land I've worked since I was 19. My name is Charles. I'm 49. I'm a farmer. Corn, soy, hay, when the weather plays nice. I'm the background one, the fixer, the one who says, "I'll take care of it," and then does. I keep a ledger in a grease-stained notebook, know every rattle on my old John Deere by sound, and make coffee strong enough to wake dead roosters. I'm also a dad to twins, Ethan and Ellie. They're 18, good kids, different as sun and shade. Here's the thing. I didn't set out to be the villain. I set out to smooth things over, like I always do. It started on a Thursday night in May. The kitchen smelled like diesel and dish soap. Ethan stood by the mudroom door in his wrinkled honor cords, grinning like the little boy who used to steal grapes from a pantry. "Dad," he said, tapping the envelope in his hand. I did it. Dean's List. I'm walking on Saturday. Ellie was at the table, hunched over a laptop, with that new AI Success Assistant app the school pushed all year. The program chirped every few minutes with tips. That night it chirped. Recommendation: Siamese outcomes for twins to reduce comparative distress. It sounded ridiculous, like a fortune cookie written by a robot. Ellie stared like it was gospel. "I'm not going," she said without looking up. I failed calc. They held me back from walking. It's humiliating. If he goes, everyone will compare us. She meant it like a fact, not a feeling, a fact. I tried to be light. "Honey, you worked hard. You'll walk in December." "Well, clap then, too." She flinched like I'd slapped her. "That's not the point. The point is equal treatment," the AI says. Ethan laughed under his breath. Just once. It was small, not mean, but it cut. Ellie heard it. "So, you're better," she snapped. "No," he said. I passed. I want to go. I earned it." The AI chimed again. Suggested boundary. Synchronous family experience. Action. Decline attendance until both siblings are ready. I should have unplugged the stupid thing. I should have said what I knew. That fairness isn't sameness. But Ellie had that look. What eyes? Jaw trembling. Pride hanging by a thread. I've seen calves stuck in a fence. That's what she looked like. Caught. Panicked. One wrong move from tearing herself up. "Maybe we do it together in December," I heard myself say, as a family. I didn't just suggest it. I made it the rule. I opened the family group chat and typed, "Nobody goes on Saturday. Not your mother, not your cousins, not even James. We walk as one family in December." I didn't threaten anyone outright, but I called them one by one and pushed until their maybe turned into a promise. Uncle Joe replied with a confused, "Charlie, you sure?" I called my parents directly. "If you show up for Ethan and not Ellie," I said, "you'll break her. I'm not letting that happen." There was a long pause, the kind that means they're letting me take responsibility, so they don't have to. Mom finally said, "Okay, if you want it this way, we'll stay home." One by one, the relatives reacted with thumbs ups and short, guilty answers. And just like that, I didn't only miss my son's graduation. I made sure he didn't have anyone else either. Ethan stared at me like he didn't recognize me. "Dad, I'm going Saturday." "Ethan," Ellie whispered, "please." I felt the old pressure in my chest. The one that shows up when the weather report says hail, and I've got silage still out. "Fix it, Charles. Reduce harm. Keep the peace." So, I did the thing that broke us. That night, after the house went quiet, I wrote an email to the registrar using words I never thought I'd type. I believe my son Ethan lied about his remaining credits and eligibility to walk. I asked the school to double-check his file immediately. I hit send, and the second the message left my outbox, I knew I'd crossed a line. Then, I told Ellie to pack a bag. "We'll drive to the coast," I said. "Just the two of us." Clear your head. Ethan knocked on my door at 6 a.m. You coming to rehearsal? I lied. Work. Fence line snapped. I'll meet you. I didn't meet him. I put Ellie's duffel in the truck and drove east, away from the gymnasium, where my son stood under fluorescent lights, waiting, phone buzzing with a message that never came. On the highway, Ellie fell asleep. I turned on the radio to drown out my thoughts. But in my head, it was just one sentence on repeat. What did you just do? When we got back 3 days later, there was a photo in the family chat of Ethan in a cheap cap and gown, standing alone in the backyard, tassel crooked, holding his diploma like it weighed 1,000 pounds. Under it, just a line of text. I walked without you. He didn't answer my calls for 3 days. That would have been enough to sink me. But when I went to the mailbox to avoid the kitchen silence, I found a certified letter from the county office. I didn't understand the first paragraph. I understood the second transfer of ownership recorded. Parcel number 1183 known as Miller Farm, now held by James and Carrie Reed. James is my brother, the golden one, the one with 3 kids and a boat he doesn't use. I stood on the porch with the paper flapping in the wind and realized I'd lost 2 children on the same weekend. One by choice, one by signature I didn't recognize. Let me back up. I grew up second of 2 boys. Our father believed in work like some folks believe in church. James could charm a banker out of his tie. I could fix a combine with 3 bolts and a prayer. Guess which skill got framed in the living room? It started small. When we were 8 and 10, Dad took us to the feed store. He let James pick a pocket knife. I got a keychain flashlight so you can see what your brother's cutting. When James dented the truck at 16, Dad clapped him on the back. First scratch out of the way. When I asked to borrow the truck for prom, he tossed me the keys and said, "No funny business." Then reminded me where the spare was in case I didn't notice the obvious. I learned to swallow Comet's whole. At 19, Dad blew his knee in the auger. Just like that, more work, less money. I picked up the slack. I ran dawn to dark and a little past. James visited most Sundays, dropped advice like confetti, then went home to his calm house and his wife, who ironed napkins for fun. 5 years ago, when Dad floated the idea of selling the farm, lands high, taxes higher, I panicked. I wasn't ready to see it go, so I did the math. Mortgage $330,000 after rolling in the line of credit and the barn roof. I said the words that became my cage. I'll carry it. I'll make the payments. Keep it in the family. Mom cried. Dad shook my hand like a business partner. James hugged me and said, "You're saving our legacy." I set up autopay. I sold a tractor I loved. I skipped vacations. I put off dental work and drove to town with a mare screaming just to make the note. 4 or 5 years I paid. Month by month. Interest and principal penalties once when a check hiccuped and bruised my pride for a week. I have the receipts. I kept them in a shoe box labeled farm. Do not toss. I thought family meant something. I thought legacy included me by default. Mom texted me about every little thing that needed fixing. Fence wire. Some pumped the back steps. "You're handy," she'd say. "Your brother's swamped." I'd show up with a toolbox and a shrug. James would show up with opinions and a latte. Then this spring, the red flags came in like crows. Flag 1. Mom handed me a manila envelope after Sunday lunch. "Can you take this to the post office?" She giggled. "Taxes for the trust thingy." I looked. The return address was a law firm 3 towns over. I'd never heard of. The label said Miller Family Trust Administrative Packet. Trust what? I asked. "Oh, you know the thing Dad set up when his knee got worse." She waved her hand like it was nothing. The way you wave at a fly flag too. I went to renew the farm insurance, and the agent asked me if the ownership name was still Reed Family Holdings. I paused. "What holdings?" He looked puzzled. "That's what it's been for 2 years." He turned the screen toward me. There it was. Reed Family Holdings, LLC. Manager James Andrew Reed. My name wasn't anywhere. Not as manager, not as member, not as a footnote. I paid $2,880 in premiums and said nothing because that's what I've always done. Flag 3. Ellie's counselor emailed me a list of parent logins for her AI assistant and asked me to ensure guardians are synced. When I clicked the link, I saw a note. Guardian 1, Carrie Reed. Guardian 2, James Reed. Guardian 3, Charles, secondary. I stared at that screen longer than I should have. How many small edits had pushed me to the edge, so I started collecting. I printed the mortgage statements from the bank. 5 years, 60 payments, my name on every line. I printed every Venmo to Dad for BOR parts and every text from Mom that started with, "Honey, can you?" I drove to the county recorder and asked to see the deed. The woman behind the glass looked up my parcel number. "Ah," she said like she'd found a familiar recipe card. Transfer recorded last month. Grantaires, Michael and Judith Miller. Grantaires Reed Family Holdings, LLC. Reed, I said, even though she'd said it already, even though I knew what it meant, as in James. "I can't tell you members," she said, not unkind. "LLCs, you know. Is there a life estate recorded? Right of first refusal. Anything." She scrolled. "There's a trust document incorporated by reference, but I can't see it here. You'd need copies. I'll pay for copies." She printed a stack as thick as my thumb and slid it under the glass. I paid cash and walked to the truck with my heart beating in my ears. Back home, I poured coffee and read every page like it was written in a foreign language. I almost understood. That's when I saw it. Clause 4.7. Bolded like a bone under thin skin. 4.7. Satisfaction of secured obligation. In the event any beneficiary contributes payments exceeding 50% of the outstanding mortgage principal and interest within a 5-year period, a right of equitable lien shall attach to the property in favor of said beneficiary enforceable upon alienation, encumbrance, or material misrepresentation of title. It was plain enough. I'd been paying an equitable lien, a right my right. Except the next line turned my stomach, as amended 18 months after inception by unanimous consent of trustees. There were 3 signatures, Mom, Dad, and James. Mine wasn't required. Mine wasn't on it. The amendment struck equitable lien and replaced it with gratuitous contribution. Gratuitous, like I tipped a bartender. I took a photo, then another with my finger pointing to 4.7. I sent it to myself. I labeled it receipt _4_7.png. That same week, Ethan texted, "I'm staying with a friend." Ellie posted a photo of us at the coast. 2 cones of soft serve and a caption, "Dad gets me." The comments were hearts and smile faces, the kind that feel like sand in your teeth. I sat at the table with 2 stacks, the farm stack and the kid stack. The farm stack said I was invisible on paper. The kid stack said I'd made myself invisible on purpose. And just when I thought I couldn't fall any further, my phone pinged. Payment to Ethan. $850 declined. We've been helping him with an apartment deposit for community college. I tried again. Declined. 2 minutes later, a text from Ethan. "Please stop. I don't want your money." I stared at the number on the screen. $8,500. That's what we promised over 8 months to help the twins with rent and books. It was a plan I'd drawn up in January down to the dollar, because planning is what I do. Suddenly it was gone. Not by my choice, by theirs. That night, I sat in the dark kitchen and finally let the anger have a chair. It happened on Father's Day. Of course it did. Mom called that morning. "We're doing burgers at the house. Bring that potato salad everyone likes. James is bringing his new boat keys to show your dad." "Boat keys?" I asked like an idiot. "For the lake." She said it's good to have toys. I almost said I paid your mortgage while he bought a toy, but what came out was we'll be there at 2. We includes no one. My house was quiet. Ellie had moved back to campus early for summer classes. Ethan hadn't been home since the photo in the backyard. My ex Laura had texted me 2 sentences the week before. "They're hurting. Give them time." I pulled into my parents' gravel drive at 158 because I am punctual even when I'm furious. The yard looked the way it always looks on Father's Day. Coolers sweating in the shade, kids yelling, Aunt Carol waving a spatula like a baton. James stood by the grill in a polo shirt, talking loud so everyone would know he was important. "Hey, hero," he said when he saw me. "Save the farm and all. Family owes you." He laughed like it was a joke he practiced. The laugh bounced off my chest and fell to the ground. "Need a hand?" I asked. "We're good," he said, then slung an arm around my shoulders and steered me toward Dad's chair. "Quick thing," he whispered like we were brothers. "We filed a few changes with the trust to simplify. Nothing big, just structure. Clause 4.7, I said. He blinked. "What?" "The equitable lien, the amendment, the signatures." He dropped his arm and smiled too wide. "You've been reading dangerous." I looked at Dad. He was cleaning his glasses, pretending he didn't hear. Mom wiped a spot on the patio table that didn't exist. I took out my phone and opened the photo. There it was, black and white, my finger pointing like an accusation. "Explain this." A hush fell over the patio the way it does when a storm cloud crosses the sun. Dad cleared his throat. "Son, we talked about this. You were making contributions because you love this place. You said so." "I did." I said, and I meant it. "But you recorded the property into an LLC with James's manager. You amended away my lien. You took my name off everything, and you did it while I made 60 payments that said otherwise." Mom's voice went small. "James has children. He needs stability." "I have children," I said. "They just don't talk to me because I blew their graduation, but I still have them." James folded his arms. "This is a family matter. Let's not embarrass ourselves." I kept my voice even quiet. "Exact. I'm not here to embarrass anyone. I'm here to set boundaries and put facts on the table." I swiped to my bank ledger. Payment $15,442.79. Payment $15,442.79. 60 times taxes. Insurance repairs. I saved your basement when the sump failed. I hauled Philil to the south line when the water ate the road. I paid for the new roof in a windstorm because the policy lapsed. And while I did that, you made me a donor. Aunt Carol tried to soften it. "Charlie, honey, you've always been so generous." "This isn't about generosity," I said. "This is about structure. It's about a promise. It's about not changing the rules in the fourth quarter and then handing my father's chair to the brother who brought both keys." James' smile faltered. "Watch your tone." I looked at him. "Really?" Looked the tan from the lake. The watch that probably cost more than my truck. The air of a man who's always landed soft. "No," I said, "you watch yours." I turned to Dad. "I want the amendment reversed. I want my lien recorded. Either that or you cut me a check for the total of my contributions plus interest and I walk. But the era of me paying while being erased is over." Silence. Then Dad did what he always does. He tried to minimize. "Let's not make this legal. We're family." I nodded. "We are." Which is why I showed up to say it, not mail it. But I brought this too. I slid a clean, plain envelope from my jacket. My own letter drafted the night before with help from a notary in town. "Notice of intent," I said. "If we don't resolve this in 30 days, I'll file for an equitable lien and petition." It wasn't a threat. It was a boundary. Before anyone could speak, my phone buzzed, a number I didn't recognize. I answered because I needed a break from my own heartbeat. "Mr. Reed," the voice said, "this is Daniel Chun, counsel for Ethan Reed." I went cold. "Counsel your son," he said. "He's retained me. We're calling regarding the email to his registrar. We have it. We're requesting an immediate retraction and a letter of correction for his file. Additionally, we'd like to discuss the $8,500 support agreement you offered in January and the messages that followed." I stared at the grass. "He hired a lawyer." "He did." Shin said he's 18. He's allowed. "Can you talk now?" Everyone on the porch watched me hold a phone like a hand grenade. "Yes," I said, voice steady. "I can talk." And that was the moment everything shifted. James stopped smiling. Mom's hand stopped moving. Dad finally looked at me. The phone stayed by my ear. The porch went quiet. And I said the thing I should have said before any AI chirped at us. I was wrong. The call started an hour later. A wave I could not stop. First came the texts. You're selfish. From James. Think about the kids. From Mom. As if mine weren't in the crosshairs. You're ruining us. From a number that turned out to be my cousin using Dad's phone. Then the voicemails, 27 in one afternoon. A chorus of adults who've never been told no. Petition. Are you insane? You'll bankrupt your mother over paperwork. Grow up. Ethan's manipulating you. Ellie is fragile. You should protect her. Sell your truck before you talk about money. Every Barb found an old bruise and pressed. I didn't yell back. I didn't send essay texts like I used to, explaining every choice until I was bleeding words. I did what my attorney, a woman named Ortiz, recommended by a neighbor, told me to do. Less mouth, more paper. I hired her with money I'd been saving for a new bailer. She suggested 3 steps. First, we drafted a formal demand to revoke the 4.7 Amendment and recognize my equitable lien. We attached copies of my payments, the text chain where Dad used the phrase, "You keep us afloat," and the insurance receipt with my name when the policy lapsed. Ortiz flagged the amendment's unanimous consent language. Trustee duties require loyalty, she said. They can't amend to benefit an insider to the detriment of a contributor without disclosure. Not when there's a schedule of contributions. Second, we sent a letter to the Registrar, retracting my late-night email, explaining it was made in error and under personal duress, and we asked that any note be removed from Ethan's record. I signed it. I did it without bargaining. Ortiz CC'd attorney, who replied with a professional received that felt like being let out of a chokehold. Third, Ortiz's paralegal filed a notice with the recorder claim of equitable interest. Parcel number 1183. It wasn't a lien yet, not formally, but it was a flag on the beach. If anyone tried to sell, they'd see my name. Meanwhile, I tightened my life like a belt. I set my phone to favorites only. I told my parents we'd communicate through counsel. I blocked James for 30 days. Not forever, just enough to breathe. The farm didn't care about any of it. Cows still bawled at dawn. The irrigation line still coughed at 4 a.m. I fixed it in the dark. Headlamp buzzing. Crickets loud enough to drown the anxiety. Work has always been my medicine. It became my cleanest room. At night, the house was too quiet. I built a new routine out of simple things. Sweep the mudroom. Brew tea. Read Clause 4.7. Like a prayer, I was learning how to say without hating anyone. Sleep came in little pieces at first, then in longer stretches when my brain realized nobody would walk in and ask me for something at 2 a.m. The calls kept coming, but with boundaries, they lost teeth. Without immediate access to my attention, people have to live with their own voices. It's amazing what goes quiet when you don't feed it. Ellie texted me on a Tuesday. You made me feel seen. I'm sorry it hurt, Ethan. I read it 3 times. Then I type slowly. I love you. I messed up. I won't pick between you again. You get December. Your day, not his. Not shared. Yours. She didn't reply. That was okay. Apologies are seeds. They sprout when they're ready. Ethan called on a Wednesday. We sat in silence a long time. Dad, he said finally. Why'd you do it? The app told me fairness looked like sameness, I said. But it wasn't the app. It was me. I wanted to stop a hurt and made a worse one. I hired a lawyer, he said, as if I might correct him. I'm glad you had someone. I said, I hurt you. You deserved an advocate. He exhaled. I don't want your money right now. I know. I said, your boundary. I'll respect it. The offer stands if you ask later. Mom says you're taking Grandpa to court. I'm asking him to honor what I paid, I said. Not to punish him, to be fair to me for once. He was quiet again. Then I sent you something. A ping, the photo from the backyard, the one he posted. He'd added a second frame. Him smiling a little. A caption, congrats to me. And to my dad when he figures his stuff out. No hearts, no thumbs up, just that. It was more than I deserved. Mom escalated when quiet didn't work. She sent Aunt Carol. The cousins agree. You should be the bigger person. Also, bring the mower. The backacre needs a pass. I sent one sentence through Ortiz. I won't perform chores for a property held in an entity that denies my interest. James tried a new tactic. Pity. This is tearing us up, Charlie. Carrie's sick over it. Return the amendment. I said through my lawyer, record my lien. He pivoted. Children need a family. Think of them. He meant his, not mine. I thought. Of mine anyway. Of Ethan's backyard cap and Ellie at the coast licking a cone. She didn't finish. I thought of how love isn't a pie, where one slice means less for another. Then I put on my boots and went to feed, because animals believe what you do, not what you say. Small consequences started landing like rain. The bank called Dad about a refinance. The underwriter flagged my recorded claim of equitable interest. It complicates things, the banker said. Dad left me 3 messages in a voice I hadn't heard since I was a kid. Tight, angry, scared. Fix this, he snapped. You did this. No. I wrote back through Ortiz. You did this when you changed the rules. My sister-in-law Carrie texted me a long paragraph about community and sacrifice, then a shorter one that gave the game away. Honestly, with 3 kids, it just makes sense for James to manage the farm. You're always so busy with your projects. Projects? She meant work. I didn't answer. I took a photo of my hands after a day in the field, cracked, dirty, strong, and saved it next to receipt _4_7.png, not to show anyone, to remind myself of what is real when words get slippery. 2 weeks in, Attorney Chin emailed, "Thank you for the retraction." The registrar removed the note. Ethan is satisfied on that point. Regarding the $8,500 support, he declines. He does, however, ask that you stop triangulating with Ellie's AI app. He's blocked from the family dashboard. That should include you. I laughed out loud for the first time in days. Agreed, I wrote. I'm done letting a gadget parent my kids. I deleted my login. The silence in the house got cleaner. By week 3, the porch felt different under my feet. I slept 6 hours straight. I fixed the screen door that stuck since last summer. I made a decent omelet. I took a picture of the sunrise and didn't send it to anyone. When you stop serving, people take inventory. Some call you cruel. Some get resourceful. Some, to my surprise, get kind. Uncle Joe called the day before our 30-day deadline. Your dad's not budging, he said. He's embarrassed. He'll double down till he breaks. Then he'll break, I said. You okay? I'm more okay than I've been, I said, and meant it. 30 days passed with no movement. So Ortiz filed. Not fireworks, just a docket number and a September date with a judge who probably owns no boots. James texted, "You'll regret this." I looked at clause 4.7, my hands, Ethan's backyard cap, Ellie's ice cream, and something clicked like a fence post set true. I regret the years I made myself small. A month later, the first hearing went our way on standing. The judge said, my contributions appear significant. One sentence, a door opening. I drove home slow, fed the cows, listened to cicadas. Ethan stopped by. I start Monday. No help needed. Proud of you. He nodded at the field. Asked if you ever need a hand. Not because I owe you, because I'm your son. Ellie called. Passed her class. December, still the plan. I'll bring a stupid sign. She laughed. Deal. Mom came by. We thought we were making it easier for James. I'm someone's kid, too. Before she left, she handed me a copy of Dad's on-end apology. Not perfect enough. My ledger now. Sleep back. Noise down. Work honest. Kids real farm in limbo. But my name's in the file. I'm not the background man. Closure isn't revenge. It's a boundary you say and keep. I keep one new silver key on its own ring, too.